everyone, and welcome to the Fishhead Creations podcast, where I pull out one of my interesting knitting projects every time and talk you through the details. My name is Anna. You can find me on Instagram as Caledoniana and on Ravelry as Obsti, and as always, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much to Kate of the Loop and Bar podcast who gave me a shout out on Instagram in her stories. I think part of the new viewers that have come in over the last week are due to you. So thank you so much, Kate, and thank you for everyone to everyone who has started watching and giving my podcast a shot. I'd really love to hear from you. So feel free to contact me on Instagram or Ravelry. Although I do not. Goodness. I'd really love to hear from you, so feel free to contact me on Instagram or Ravelry or just in the comments down below. It would be lovely to start a bit of a conversation on this podcast about all the details and the projects, and I just love to interact with you and get to know who's actually watching my podcasts. So, first of all, what am I wearing? This is my Buchan sweater or jumper by Kate Davies, which I talked about last episode. And as I was just only holding it up all the time, I thought it might be interesting to see how it fits. This is it. I really love it. It sits really great on my shoulders and around my neck. It doesn't come up too high, but it's quite nice. I really like it. But today's project is actually going to be the Vinterfjell Yoke sweater, jumper, whatever, by Skeindeer. I've been wearing both my versions on the last two podcasts, and I've been mentioning them all the time and parts of the details about them. So I thought they actually deserve their own episode. So that's what we're going to talk about. You will have seen them both in my little introductory video, but let's start with the first version I knit, which is this one. First, the yarn. This is all Holst Super Soft in the colors black. I think the green is called Tundra, and Nougat for the. It's kind of a natural white. It has rather grey undertones, not cream, but yeah, which I prefer actually. This was my first version, which I knit just after the pattern came out. And I knit quite soon after I knit my Buchanan. And as I mentioned last week, one of the smaller sizes of the Vinterfjell, which has a wide range of sizes. So I think my size I should have knit from the bust circumference at the given gauge would have been size 8 or 9. But it would have been size 5, but size 2, somewhere around those areas. I'm making up numbers. But yeah, I think it was size 2, had pretty much the same stitch count as my Buchanan had. So I decided to knit the Vinterfjell at a quite loose gauge, because the pattern calls for 24 stitches by 10 centimeters, I think. And this Buchanan was knit at 22 stitches, or called for 22 stitches. I never measured my gauge, but it worked. So I decided to go with a stitch count that just matched the Buchanan, and knit the size 2, so it would just be a looser fabric and a lighter garment, and still quite warm, but also suitable for autumn and spring, when you don't want a very dense, warm woolen sweater, but just a nice layer. So you can see, at least you might be able to see, it's quite loose when I put my hand around it, and it's really just what I wanted it to be. It's a light layer, and yeah, it's just a nice sweater. It does have some issues though. If you look at it, it's very straight in the shoulder, or in the yoke part here. This bit coming out here is because I dried it hanging on a hanger, which just pulled out the shoulders, or those little bobbly points here. But all in all, it's very straight, pyramid shaped, without the curves on the shoulders, which I liked on the Buchanan. This pyramid shape is actually what causes most of my problems with both versions of the Vinterfjell, because the other one is knit at a different gauge but still has this shape. What it does is I have too little space at about here on the upper part of my shoulders, so whenever I move my arms, the whole jumper rides up. You can see if I move my arms in this one, it doesn't move. So the jumper, well, it follows the movement of my arms. Now I'm flapping like a duck here. It does follow my arm movement, but when I'm lowering my arms again, the whole jumper goes down again. And this doesn't do that. I always have to pull it down because whenever I've moved my arms, the whole jumper has ridden up because it doesn't have enough space in the shoulders, and then it stays up there. That's, well, it doesn't destroy the fit, but it's quite annoying. So if I were to knit a third version, which I don't think, or if I were to design my own jumper based on another jumper as I did with the runes jumper, I wouldn't choose this one, and if I were to knit it again, I wouldn't decrease as much here. So I would probably do one more repeat of this large pattern, actually, to have significantly more space in this area here. But other than that, I really, really love the pattern. It's a joy to knit because it's only short repeats, you don't have to catch any floats. It's very intuitive, you have repeated things, so you're knitting basically from here to here and then you've done everything and the rest is just mirrored, so it's not, not too hard, you can easily remember it. I usually only had to glance at my pattern and then could just go around, no problem. One thing about the pattern is it's written in the traditional Norwegian way of writing patterns, so it doesn't give you instructions for every single step and every single detail. It just tells you between those bands of color work to increase a given number of stitches evenly distributed around. Which is no problem, but it does require a bit of math or thinking about, which I didn't want to do because I just want to knit. So I asked my boyfriend, who's quite tech savvy, to just program me a little thing that would calculate that for me. So all I have to do for that now, because he generously agreed to do it, is enter the stitch count I had before and enter the stitch count I want to have afterwards, and it just gives me a long row of numbers, which are all those stitches I have to add to my number. So it will say 1, 7, 12, and so on. So I know the first stitch is one I have to make from the bar below. Then I knit to stitch 6, and then stitch 7 again is one I have to make new. Works for me, it's quite easy, and it made this a lot more smoothly and no brain knitting. So yeah, the yoke, well, it's, as I've implicitly mentioned, knit top down. So you start at the neck opening, knit through the yoke, then separate for body and sleeves. And Skeindeer gives you an option for full length or cropped, and waist shaping or no waist shaping. What I wanted to do was full length and waist shaping. What I got was cropped and waist shaping, because I didn't account for the amount of shrinkage after washing holds super soft. Because when I was knitting this, which was in March, because I was knitting on it, well, I had knit through all the yoke part before, and then I took everything else to Edinburgh Yarn Fest, so I only had to bring the black yarn. And I actually got to show it to Skeindeer, which was quite fun. And I didn't really know how long I wanted to have it. I didn't have a tape measure. So what I did was just hold it against this Buchanan because I liked the length of it, and knit it to the same length, which gave me a well-fitting, long enough jumper before I washed it. Then I came home, I washed it. It was way too short. Well, at least way shorter than I would have liked it. Because these are full-length sleeves, but only because I lengthened them afterwards. When I first knit them, they were just coming up to here, and this is on a jumper where I actually think the sleeves are too short, and then I pushed them up. So, just annoyingly short. So I just pulled out the ribbing, as it's knit top down. It was quite easy. I knit, I think, well, this part is added in between ribbing and the original sleeve, which I can see because I haven't washed it since. Yeah, I lengthened the sleeves, and now they're still not very long, but they come up to here, which is fine. But I was just too lazy to do the whole body. So it's quite cropped, which I don't usually wear because I don't wear any dresses, over which I think cropped jumpers look quite cute, but not on me because it's just not me. I don't feel like myself, I don't feel comfortable in dress. So it's quite short, but I have one pair of jeans that's quite high-waisted, and I can wear it easily with that pair of jeans and just tuck it into the jeans, which looks okay. So yeah, that's my problems with this one. Oh, one more. You can see it has quite a lot of short rows in the back of the neck, which in itself is a good thing, but I think Ellie did put in a few short rows too many. I think I would have done, or should have done, 1 or 2 sets less of the short rows, at least. Because it tends to just bulge out a little, so when it sits on my neck, it sits like this. Something or other. Which is not the most flattering thing, but then I usually wear a shawl on top of it, so it's quite fine. But yeah, this was Ellie's Skeindeer's first garment design, so it's quite natural that there are small problems in it. And of all those problems I mentioned, only this short row problem is really one of the pattern. Everything else is just my lack of thinking and measuring and planning. So yeah, that's my first version, and it was total quick knit. I think it took me 2 weeks. Okay, most of it was knit at a yarn fest, but still. But then, because I just liked the knitting so much, I went back and decided to knit one at the required gauge. So for the 22 stitches per 10 centimeters, I knit this on 3.5 millimeters, and for the 24 Ellie calls for, I went down to 3 millimeters. Random gauge. I can use 3.25 needles for either gauge. It turns out the way I want it to be or not, and 3.25 needles, millimeter needles just don't exist for me. Because of reasons I don't know. So yeah, let's talk about this jumper, not my gauge issues. This is my second version. The main color again is Holz Super Soft. The lighter gray is Sandnes Tove. The white, or almost white, it's also slightly grayish white, is Römer Fine, and this dark charcoal gray here, which is not the main color. It's Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, in my favorite color ever, and I want a cone of it. Have I just got it in? I might order it. I might have to, because I've waited for, well, since Adam Yarn Fest, for them to get it in again in that color. And it's so much cheaper than buying the 25 gram balls, so I might have to get it. Yeah, well, not much to say about the color work in itself. We talked about that already with the first version. This one also does have the problem of the pyramid shaped shoulders. It's wide enough here, it's not wide enough here. So at this tighter gauge it would be even easier to just change the stitch count to incorporate one more repeat of this largest pattern to make it wider up here and then curve inward. Same problem about the short rows. I did think about doing one set less, but I didn't do it in the end. I should have done. It's also bulging out here. You live and you learn. It's fine. I'm wearing a shawl. It's not too noticeable, but combined with the riding up in the shoulders, it does bulge out. Other than that, there's not too much more to say. You can see it's a lot longer compared to the sleeves, which are roughly the same length as on the first version. And I did do the waist shaping again. I just think it's a lot more flattering if a jumper has at least slight waist shaping. It's knit, well, not at a significantly tighter gauge, but I think it's one that Holz Super Soft likes more, works better at. Oh, well, I do like the other jumpers. I'm wearing one and it's totally fine, but it just gives you a nicer, more dirty feeling fabric if you knit such a lightweight yarn as holds super soft at a tighter gauge. It's actually, I think, recommended for 26 stitches or so, but yeah, it just does make a nicer fabric. Just from how it looks, not how it feels to wear. I really don't have much more to say about it. I think I changed on both versions. I changed the decrease rate of the sleeves from what Ellie recommends to what worked for me on this one, which is very slow decreases up to about at the elbow, and then more rapid increases to get down to a nice and snug fitting sleeve at the wrist. But yeah, I think that's all the modifications I made on this. I'm quite happy with both. I don't think I did a third version, although I have ideas for colorways and choices, but I think I'll just stick to putting those colors into something I design myself. It was a great experiment and learning experience, just for the fact that I now know how not to shape my shoulders to get a good fit on me, and I now know not to overdo it on the short rows. So yeah, that's great. And still, I think it's a wonderful pattern. It's very good for also first-time colorwork yoke knitters because it doesn't have any floats you need to catch, which I didn't do very well on this one. As you can see here, all the floats show through, and you won't have that problem in the Vinterfjell. So yeah, there are some issues about the fit, and there are some things I would change, but I still highly recommend the pattern, and I'm very excited to see what Ellie comes up with in the future in terms of color work. Yeah, I think that's it for this week's episode. I will be recording next week, and I might be pre-recording an episode for the week after because I'll be spending the second half of September in Scotland. I'll be on a Highland pony stud working with young horses, and I think I'll be enjoying it very much, and I love Scotland, and well, what's not to love about such a beautiful country. I don't think I will be getting much yarn shopping in, but I do hope to get quite a lot of knitting time there, so I might be back with a whole new jumper. I have plans and ideas, but we will see how much knitting I actually get done when I'm there. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye! I also had quite a few comments about the cat videos I include at the end. I just thought I always love to see the pets of other podcasters, so I'd force mine into the podcast, and this time I won't be including another separate video of the cats because, well, the black cat Loki, he's just sleeping on the bed on a black blanket in a dark room, so I won't get any nice video of him anyway. But Solveig here was rather awake, at least, well, I had hoped she would wake up and join me on the podcast anyway, but now I just decided to drag her over and show her to you. She's almost 10 years old. We've had her for almost 9. She's a rescue cat. She was very aggressive when we got her because she was just scared and didn't know what humans would do to her. But now she's cuddly and happy.